The signal in the far edge of the Valari sector, where stars shine weak and space feels colder than silence itself. A listening post floated quietly in the dark. The station was old, built before anyone alive could remember why it was even needed. Anymore, most thought of it as a forgotten relic, but to Commander Taran, it was still duty. Taran stood tall near the observation glass that stretched wide across the control room. His eyes remained fixed on the emptiness, beyond nothing but black sky and distant lights blinking like dying fires. A slow rhythm of silence filled the room, broken only by soft beeping from the radar console behind him. Officer Mira worked at her panel, going through daily scans and log entries. Nothing ever came from this part of space, so her hands moved slow without worry or thought. Then the radar spoke, a tone low and sharp, not one she recognized. Her fingers stopped, her head turned, her voice quiet but certain. "Commander, you need to see Thisterin." Stepped over, no rush in his walk, until his eyes met the screen. And then he stopped. A signal, not just any signal, it carried an old identifier. Something from the archive era, a frequency long banned from use. It repeated a pulse every few seconds with a time pattern only one species used in the past. Renn asked without turning, "Is this real?" Mira ran checks 3 times, each time gave the same answer. The signal matched a Terran distress beacon, a type lost in memory and myth. She spoke again, voice tense. "It's human." The word hung in the air, cold and strange, like a shadow cast in firelight. Humans were not real, not anymore. They were stories told by the old ones. Stories full of anger, fire, war. Some said humans burned through galaxies before destroying themselves. Others claimed they escaped into hidden systems where no one could follow. Whatever the tale, always one truth remained. Humans were gone. Taran looked closer at the data. The signal came from a ship, old and scarred, floating just outside scan range, its shape blurred by distance. But the system guessed its design. Heavy metal structure, front heavy frame with heat vents like teeth. The type humans once built for long travel and hard battle. He moved to the comms panel, tried to hail the ship. No answer, only the repeated pulse. No change in direction, no attempt to run. "Prepare long-range visual." Tarina ordered. Mira obeyed. The screen flickered before a shape appeared. Not clear, not close, but enough to see that the ship was real. It drifted slow, not dead, but not fully alive either. "Commander, if that ship is truly human, then history has lied to you." Taran did not reply right away. His mind moved fast through the records he studied in training, through the lectures that taught him humans were violent creatures who vanished in their own chaos. He remembered the warnings, the fear, the command never to search for them. But now the signal had reached them, and the stars do not lie. "Send a report to Central," he said. "But remove the human tag. Mark it as unidentified vessel for now. You think they will panic? I think they will silence it." Renn walked away, hands behind his back, eyes looking through steel and stars. Something pulled at his thoughts, not fear, not duty, something deeper. Mira stayed at her console, running passive scans. She looked through layers of data, energy readings, heat levels, structural design. All signs pointed to truth. The ship was human. The engines matched old Terran models. The energy core ran on a type of fusion the Valari had long abandoned, and more than that, there were signs of life. One weak signal inside, one pulse, faint and fading. Taran returned to her side and stared at the numbers. "Only one life sign," Mira whispered. "Could be a system error." "No, it is not," he replied, steady voice, steady gaze. Then he leaned closer to the screen and watched as the ship drifted slowly toward the outer rim of Valari territory. Still no reply. Still that same ancient distress signal calling through the void. "Do we intercept?" Mira asked. Taran paused. A question like that had no easy answer. "If we move, they will know we saw it. If we ignore it, and it vanishes, we lose whatever truth it holds." He thought about the ancient stories, the ones that said humans were more than war, more than rage. Some spoke of their fire not as destruction, but as strength, a species that survived against time itself, a race that vanished not in war but in mystery. "If this ship is real, then we must see it for ourselves. Order the scout ship ready." Set path for silent approach. No weapons, no lights. We observe. Mira gave the command. The station shifted systems into motion. A scout craft detached from the lower deck and moved like a ghost through black space toward the unknown. Terran stayed quiet. As the screen showed the ship getting closer, shapes clearer, details sharper. What once looked like shadow now revealed old scars, old marks of war. A symbol painted on the side, half burned away, but still clear enough to read it, was the Earth flag. Broken, faded, but still flying. Commander, Mira said again, "This changes everything." "No," he answered. "This begins everything." The scout ship moved closer, just far enough to get full scan readings. Before anyone could speak, the unknown ship reacted for the first time. A flicker in its engines, a pulse of heat, a light from within. The distress signal stopped. A new message began. Old language, broken voice. One word repeated again and again. Help. Terran turned from the screen and gave a single command: prepare for contact. And so in the dead of space where silence had ruled for centuries, a voice long lost to time called out once more. A voice from legend. A voice from Earth. The humans had returned, or perhaps they had never left the approach. The scout ship moved slow through the black sea of stars, its engines silent as breath, its lights dim like fading memory. Behind it, the station watched every second as distance between them and the unknown vessel began to close inside. The scout ship, 2 Volari pilots, set focused eyes locked on the glowing screen ahead. Their orders were clear: no aggression, no contact, only observe, only report. Yet the air inside the cabin felt thick with questions none dared to speak back at the station. Commander Terran stood before the main display, watching the 2 crafts draw closer. A strange feeling rested in his chest, something between fear and hope, something he had not felt since. Youth Officer Mira stood beside him, reading every signal, every shift in energy patterns, every data spike from the human ship. She noticed something odd, not a trap, not an attack, but strange movement inside the vessel, as if systems were waking up after long sleep. The life sign remains weak, she said, but it is steady now. No change in ship speed, no weapon charge, no signs of hostile intent. Terran gave a small nod, eyes on the vessel. Always waiting, always thinking. Keep watching. Keep silent. No move until I give word. Mira nodded and returned to her station, fingers moving fast across her console, searching deeper inside the layers of the signal. Human ship drifted like a ghost, its hull scarred and blackened from old battles, its design sharp like an arrow, built for speed, built for survival. Along its surface faded marks showed, symbols long unknown to Volari minds, but still full of weight and power inside. The ship, behind thick metal walls, behind layers of ice and time, a cryochamber, held its only living soul. The man inside remained still, frozen in a dream. He did not understand. His name was Reed, though he did not remember that yet. In his sleep he saw flashes of fire, saw broken ships falling into black, saw faces of crew members screaming into silence. A mission once full of hope lost in the pull of a failed jump through deep space, then only cold, then only sleep. Terran leaned closer to the screen and narrowed his eyes, increased visuals. I want a full scan of that chamber inside. Mira worked quickly. A new image appeared, not clear, but strong enough to show a form, a human body, pale and unmoving, wires connected to a survival system barely holding together. One human only, Terran said, voice low. One, left from a time forgotten. Mira answered. Outside, the 2 ships floated within reach now. The scout hovered just beside the human craft, scanning every surface, every signal, every flicker of energy. Then something changed. The human ship turned slightly, not to run, not to fight, but to face the scout ship directly. Commander, the vessel is adjusting, Mira called out softly. Terran raised one hand, no fear in his face, only calm thought. Hold position. Do not engage. Let it move. Let it speak. The human ship blinked, a soft light on its front side, pulsing slow like a heartbeat. The signal was not attack, not defense. It was language. The ship is trying to talk, Mira said, her voice rising with wonder. Translate the light pattern, Terran said at once. Console decoded the signal, slow message in broken code, not full words, not full phrases. Just simple meaning repeated again and again. I am alone. I need help. Myra looked at the words, then looked at Terran. Is not hostile. He is just lost. Terran stepped back from the console and walked to the far window, looking at the two ships floating in silence, one from the present, one from a past. Thought to be dead. Why now? He whispered to himself. Why here? Why one? Mira came beside him, a question forming in her mind. What if this is not the end? What if this is the beginning? Terran did not answer right away. His mind moved through old stories, through forgotten lessons from the academy, through warnings spoken by gray-haired mentors who told tales of human fire, of human rage, of the price they paid for their ambition. But those stories had holes. Those tales never showed proof, only fear, only silence. What if humans were not monsters? What if they were just lost travelers like us? Commander, the station is receiving a request from Central. Myra said at last. They demand a full report. They want identity confirmation. Renn stayed quiet for a moment, then spoke clear and strong. Send the report, but remove all human data. Send only coordinates and general vessel shape. Let them wonder. Let them wait. Myra looked at him, unsure. If they find out we withheld this, then they will know we still have courage. Terran replied. The signal from the human ship changed again. This time, a weak sound came through, static, filled and broken, but still real. A voice like wind through metal, a voice that had not spoken in hundreds of years. Terran stepped close and listened. This is Vessel Echo 7. From Earth mission outbound. Repeat. Echo 7 from Earth crew lost, ship damaged, request aid. The voice faded into static once more. Terran turned to Mira. Prepare medical, prepare contact, send drones for docking protocol. You mean we bring him here? Bring him home? Mira's eyes widened. Her hands moved fast. Yes, Commander. Scout ship extended its arms, small drone lines reaching out to connect with the human vessel. Soft contact, no force, no risk. The latch held. Lights inside the human ship blinked once, then stayed on. For the first time in 500 years, a human reached back to the stars, and someone reached in return. Contact. The connection was made. The Volari drones locked into the human ship carefully, without pressure, without harm. No alarms, no sudden movement, no defense systems activated. Only silence wrapped around both ships like a cold blanket from space. Inside the station, a new mood had settled. The crew moved faster now, voices lower, movements sharper. The unknown no longer stayed at a distance. It now floated within reach. Terran stood near the command seat, eyes locked on the central screen. A signal from the scout ship confirmed full link with the ancient vessel. The drones began to scan deeper, searching for pressure levels, temperature, atmosphere, and signs of biological life. Myra looked at her panel with steady focus. Every part of the human ship told stories. Scars from asteroid impacts, burns from plasma trails, faded writing near the entry hatch. It felt more like a tomb than a ship, but something inside still held life. The cryopod was in poor condition. Panels cracked, circuits exposed. Wires sparked once, then died out again. But the life sign remained. Myra pointed to the screen. His body is weak, but his mind shows activity. Terran leaned forward. Begin revival sequence. Send signal into cryo controls. Use standard medical bypass code. Force manual exit if needed. Yes, Commander. Outside, the pod lights flickered faintly. A soft hiss escaped from its edges. The inner glass turned white, then cleared. A man lay within, eyes shut, chest rising slowly, face cold and pale. A face not seen in this galaxy for centuries. The drone sent in warmth and oxygen, balancing the environment carefully as his heart began to beat harder. Machines beeped and hissed as energy rushed through systems long forgotten. His hand moved first, then his eyes opened. Man inside gasped hard as if pulled from the edge of the void. His head turned weakly, his voice cracked low. Where am I? The drones translated his speech into Volari code. Mira read the words with wonder. He speaks our language, or at least parts of it. Renn stepped back from the display and gave a single command. Bring him aboard. The scout ship released soft tethers and pulled the pod through a secured tunnel connecting to the station. A medical team waited behind sealed doors, masks on, tools ready. A moment like this had never happened in recorded history. The chamber opened and the human stepped out slowly. Feet unsteady, eyes blinking at the light around him. His skin looked worn, his hair streaked with silver. His uniform torn in places, still bearing the name patch Aridi. He did not speak right away, only looked around at the strange figures that greeted him. Not human, not enemy, just unknown. The team led him to a secure room, calm hands, steady pace. Sensors checked his pulse, his breath, his blood. Every reading came back old, but stable. Terran watched through the glass. He does not fear us, Mira said softly. Fears something else. The man sat down slowly, then looked at the officers before him. His voice came out dry but strong. You are not Humantaran. Entered the room and faced the man with careful posture. You are. Reed gave a tired smile. Last time I checked. What is your name? Reed paused for a moment, then spoke. Lieutenant Reed, Earth Navy mission, Echo 7, lost during transit through Sector 19. Drifted through subspace. No contact, no rescue. No idea how long. Terran nodded slowly. You have been missing for 500 years. Reed's eyes did not show shock, only quiet acceptance, as if he already knew deep down. He looked down at his hands, then back at Terran's crew. You are alone. Reed took a slow breath. His shoulders lowered. Then it's true. Mira stepped forward with a datapad. Found your ship by chance, a signal buried in deep space. Your distress beacon led us. Reed nodded. The jump was unstable. We lost control systems, failed, engines froze. The pod was last resort. And studied the man with interest. Our records say humans destroyed themselves. Reed laughed, once low and bitter. Not true. We were trying to expand. Too fast, too far, too many risks. Some of us paid the price. Others may have survived elsewhere. Terran's eyes narrowed. Why were those records changed? Reed leaned back against the wall. Truth is dangerous. Truth inspires fear. Truth reminds people they are not alone. Myra looked at Taran, then back at Reed. Why do you think your kind became legend? Because silence is easier than history. Reed stood. Now Lig's stronger voice clearer. But silence cannot last forever. Terran turned away and spoke into the comp. Prepare council briefing. Secure all data. Prepare message for command. Reed looked at him, curious. They will come. Yes, they will, and they will not believe you. They will believe the facts. They will see the proof. They will try to erase it. Aganarin paused before answering. I will not let that happen. Myra stepped forward again. Your ship still works. Barely. We found systems that may be restored. Reed looked hopeful then. I can leave. Terran stared at the man, now more symbol than soldier. Where would you go? Where others listen. Where stories still matter. Reed walked to the window of the chamber and looked out at the stars beyond the glass. Out there, we dreamed of more. We reached too far and fell. But not all dreams must end. Terran watched him in silence. Commander, Mira said, the human is not our enemy. No, he is not. The screen behind them flashed a message from Valari Prime, a demand for full report, a request for vessel classification, a command to detain the Humantaran. Looked at the words, then looked at Reed and made a choice. The lie. The message from Valari Prime came again, this time with stronger words. No questions, no patience, no delay. Full record requested. Immediate transfer of the human demanded. Terran read the message once, then closed the screen without a word. Mira stood beside him, quiet but tense. She could feel what was coming. Orders would follow, orders that had no space for truth. The station felt different. Now lights seemed dimmer, halls colder. The presence of the human had changed everything. Not by force, not by threat, but by his existence alone. Reed sat alone in a quiet chamber. Near the center of the station, he'd have been given food, clothing, access to clean air. His body was still weak, but his mind had grown sharp again with every hour. He spent his time looking at the stars through the window, watching them as if reading from them. Mira entered holding a datapad. She placed it on the table and sat across from him. Her voice was calm but heavy. You are not safe here anymore. Reed looked at her face, then at the screen. They know, yes. What are they saying? That you are not to be trusted. That your ship must be taken. That your memory is a threat. Reed leaned back and closed his eyes. I am only one man sometimes. One man is enough. Myra waited, then spoke again, softer now. I found something buried in our data center records. Not easy to reach, logs marked as corrupted. But they were not corrupted. They were locked. She turned the screen toward him. The symbols on it were old, but not human. Valari words sealed in red warnings across them. Reed read what he could, then looked at her. What does it say? It says that your people did not die in war. It says that contact was made and later hidden when 470 years ago. That is not possible. It happened. Your ship is not the first to appear. Others came before, not many. But enough. Some were destroyed. Some captured. All records erased. All witnesses silenced. Reed stared in silence. They feared what you brought. They feared your ideas. Mira kept her voice steady. Truth creates change. Truth breaks control. Truth opens doors. And once opened doors, never closet. Terran walked in, not speaking at first. His eyes moved from Reed to Mira, then to the screen on the table. He had heard enough. He looked at Reed with a calm that felt like still water before stormed. Do you want to leave? Reed stood slow, hands behind his back. If I stay, you lose. If I go, you risk more. But yes, I want to leave, not to run, not to hide, but to be free to run. Nodded once, then turned to Mira. Prepare the old docking bay. No surveillance, no comlink route. All power manually. Keep this off the main grid. Mira looked surprised, but did not question. Yes. Commander. Reed moved to follow her, then stopped and looked back. Why help? Meteran answered without pause. Because truth belongs to all outside the chamber, in Wendefea. The core of the station. Quiet shadows moved. Central had sent a hidden signal to a small ship waiting near the outer rim. Its orders were clear. Retrieve the human or remove him. Inside the station, Mira and Terran worked quickly using old access points. Old systems left unused for decades. The station had many layers, and they used the ones forgotten by others. They brought Reed to the hidden bay where his broken ship had been stored. Engineers had worked without notice. Small repairs, slow upgrades. Enough to make it fly again. The ship looked like a beast half asleep. Its body dented, its lights dim, but its heart still burned. Reed stood before it, hand resting on its hull. She still. Brother Starren placed a small device in Reed's hand. Coordinates to a quiet system beyond the edge, safe for now. There are voices there that still remember. Reed gave a slow nod. I will find them. A voice crackled through the station. A warning from the outer scanner. Unmarked vessel approaching full speed. Weapons charged. Terran turned to Mira. They found out how we took too long. Reed stepped into his ship quickly, close to the bay. Get clear. Mira moved to the panel and began the countdown. Engines on, shields active, manual control ready. Doors opened. Space welcomed the old human ship once more. The enemy craft drew closer fast and without mercy. Terran spoke into the mic. This is Commander of Station Epsilon. We are under peaceful protocol. Stand down or be recorded as violators. The enemy ship gave no answer, only moved closer. Reed's ship burst forward like a wave breaking through stone. Fire from the enemy hit his shield, but he kept moving. Speed became his weapon. Distance his ally inside. The station power failed, then returned. Systems blinked, then held. The human ship vanished into deep space, gone from their sight, but not from their minds. Starren stepped back from the panel. Mira beside him. Do you think he will make eyes? As before, the council will come for us. Let them. Mira looked at the stars. Now what happens next? Starren spoke slow and clear. Next, we tell the truth. The choice, the stars over Valari. Prime burned brighter that week, as if the sky itself knew something had shifted. A human ship had passed through their space. A man from legend had walked their halls. The silence of 5 centuries had been broken, not with war, but with a whisper. Back at the station, Terran stood before the main screen, hands behind his back. His uniform still carried the weight of command, but his heart carried something more. It carried memory. Beside him, Mira worked without rest. Streams of data moved across her panel, reports, signals, messages from outer systems. Her eyes sharp, her voice calm. She had learned to hide fear behind focus. A new message came from Central Council, this time marked urgent. This time with no room for delay. A demand, not a request. A threat, not a warning. Terran opened it and read each word slowly. Surrender the station. Prepare for questioning. Await removal. He closed the message and looked at Mira. They are coming. Myra nodded. Once how much time 3 days, maybe less, do we obey? No, outside the station stars moved like they always had, but now they seemed different. Reed had gone into the unknown. His ship carried more than metal and fuel. It carried history. It carried proof far. Across the galaxy Reed flew through dark systems alone, but not without direction. The coordinates given by Taran led him past silent moons and broken satellites, past fields of ice and gas that stretched like rivers across spaces. Ship coughed with every burn of the engine, but it moved with purpose. Every blink of light across his screen gave him hope. Every signal brought a chance. Then something answered. A faint signal came from the edge of his radar. Not Valari, not machine, but something. Human, something. Old Reed adjusted course. His ship turned toward the source with slow grace. His hand steady, his breath held. A shape appeared ahead, not large, not powerful, but alive. Lights blinked on its sides, a pattern he knew. Reed spoke into the mic, his voice strong. "This is Echo 7 Earth Mission Survivor. Request identity of vessel." The reply came after silence, not rushed, not loud, only real. "This is Haven 1. Human refugee craft. We see you, we welcome you." Reed closed his eyes for a moment and let the silence fill him again, but this time not with loss. This time with peace. Back on the Valari station, alarms began to rise. Ships from Central had entered the sector, all weapons offline but numbers high. Their purpose was clear: take control. Bury the truth. Keep the old stories dead. Taran stood ready in the command room, Mira by his side. Other officers had joined them, not all, but enough. Some feared what was coming. Others feared silence more. One officer spoke low, "They will shut us down." Renn looked at the man, then looked at the stars. "Not if the people hear us first." Mira opened a private channel, not to Central, not to command, but to open space. A broadcast unmarked, free to travel across all networks. She uploaded the recordings, the scans, the voice of Reed, the flight logs, the cryo data, the cover-up records, the truth sent into the stream of stars. Within hours, planets across the Valari systems began to receive the files. Science stations, culture forums, underground archives. Young minds opened files, old minds shook their heads. Some called it lie, some called it hope, but no one could ignore it. The truth, once set free, refused to die. Central ships reached the station armed with orders. They found no resistance. They found no fear. Renn stepped forward and faced the council agents, not as traitor, not as soldier, but as witness. "I have served this station for 30 years. I have followed every law given to me until the law asked me to erase history." The lead agent held up a tablet. "You hid the human. You allowed escape. I allowed truth. This station is under review. You are no longer in command." "Then command means nothing." Myra stood beside him holding a new tablet, one showing the spread of the transmission, one showing thousands of downloads from across systems. "The truth is no longer ours to control outside the station." One more ship arrived, not from Central, not from Valari at all, but from deep space. It bore no weapons, no threats. Reed returned, not alone now, but with 3 other ships, human crafts, old and worn but strong. Each one carried survivors. Each one carried stories. The Central fleet paused, unsure, not ready for Thisterin. "Step forward again now. Decide, will you silence voices or will you listen?" Council did not respond right away. The lead agent lowered the tablet and turned away. "Oh, action. Today we report back and the truth is already moving." Weeks passed, then months. The galaxy changed slowly, not with fire, not with war, but with questions. Young Valari began to speak the name human without fear. Old scholars searched through forbiddance. Text engineers studied the ship. Reed brought back, hoping to learn, hoping to remember. A new station was planned, a joint effort. A place where history could be written, not erased. A place where humans and Valari could meet, not as ghosts and hunters, but as travelers. Reed stood beside Taran on the deck of the rebuilt station 1 year later. Mira now in charge of communications, her team younger than before, but wiser. Stars looked the same, but now felt full again. Reed smiled. "You risked everything. Some truths are worth it. What now? We build, and if the past returns, then we face it together." Human ship drifted beside the station, its lights steady, its wings open to the dark. Somewhere, far beyond, others still waited, some still lost, some still dreaming. But now they had a signal to follow, the voice that once called for help, now called for unity. We are human, we remember, we return. The end.